by Berks and Bucks FA. Welcome to episode 6 of the Grassroots Football Coach podcast, brought to you by Berks and Bucks FA. On the pod this week, we have Ekow Elliott. Ekow is a semi-professional footballer for Thatcham Town and a coach at Reading. On the pod, Ekow talks about his playing career, how Thatcham Town got to the final of the FA Trophy last season, talks about his coaching, including coaching in America and Spain, going back to his grassroots days when he was a player for Midway Youth, and shares his thoughts on modern day coaches. So please listen in and enjoy.
Welcome, I'm here with Ekow Elliott, someone I know from the Reading area and someone that I've coached before. Welcome, Ekow. Can you just tell us a little bit about your career, where you've come from in terms of playing, coaching, and where you are to date?
Yes, it feels like it's been a long one, and I'm not even 30 years old yet. But I guess it kind of started in Ghana, playing football as a toddler and a young player. I was born in the UK, but moved to Ghana about 11 months, and then came back when I was like 5 years old. And my earliest memories of England, I could already like play football, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I assume I was playing in Ghana, and then obviously I've got an older brother, almost 4 years older than me. I always played in his teams at about 5-6 years old. Yeah. Excelled at a young age. Played at academy. From about 8 till 12, I was at Reading Academy, when it was actually a school of excellence, to be honest with you. And then family stuff, travelling, same old story. Ghanaian family, education. So went down the education route. Did very well at that. Psychology degree. But yeah, always played at a decent level, county, played for Aldershot. Flirted with potentially going pro at 18, went to university instead. And then finished university, still wanted to play, played throughout. And then once I'd finished, started playing non-league football because my mate told me I can make 60 quid a week. And after the university bank account had been plummeted, I thought £60 a week just to play football. Yeah. I've been doing it for free for 20 years, so £60 a week would be great money.
Where was that? Where did you go first?
I went to Blackfield and Langley first, because that's where he was at the time.
Which is down Southampton way?
Yeah, Southampton way, New Forest. And then, always, because I went to university in Bournemouth, and then so I always played down that sort of way, and then now moved kind of back and coaching badges, working for Reading, coached abroad. So yeah, a long story with football, and obviously still very much engaged in it now. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, you're being quite modest actually, because our paths crossed fairly recently after you won the Vase. What was that like?
It was a very humbling experience, to be honest with you. I think the main thing for me was just playing in front of your friends and family at Wembley. Yeah. Obviously, the televised aspect was a huge thing. To play on, and BT Sport as well. Like, no disrespect, but it wasn't like a terrible channel. It wasn't. I don't want to say any of it. I don't want to say any other channels.
I'm with you.
They work, and obviously, I'm sure they're professional in what they do, and have only got certain budgets. But to be on such a big broadcasting, such a big channel, and see it advertised weeks before. I remember I was watching maybe like the FA Cup highlights or something, and it said, and in 3 or 4 weeks we're going to have Thatcham versus Stockton. And I'm thinking, I'm playing in that game. Yeah. And that was crazy humbling. Coming out, fireworks and national. It was just it feels like you're in a film, but you're in your body. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then the whistle goes and it's game time. So it was a huge privilege.
What was it like playing on that pitch? Because it's a pitch like no other, isn't it? It's huge. It's a massive pitch.
You did me a massive favour, because I think we saw each other maybe 3 or 4 weeks before.
Yeah, we did.
At St George's.
Oh, that was it, yeah.
When I was finishing my UEFA B, you were down there, and you said you'd played a charity match, and it wasn't easy.
It was huge.
So
it's a huge pitch.
Yeah, so that was massive in my preparation for it. We were going for the league at the time, but we played a big game away at Highworth Town, managed to nick it by some miracle. We played terribly. We were losing with minutes to go, 1-2-1, to win the league, basically. So after that game, I really upped the ante in terms of my own personal work, personal training, did loads of aerobic conditioning and anaerobic conditioning for Wembley. And it did make the difference. I felt I was really tired after like 16 minutes, but then I went into my second wind and felt all right for the rest of the game.
And you were fortunate to have like your hometown club, Reading Football Club. I think you used the pitch there. You were saying that you used Alice as well. Was that a great help on the journey?
That was massive, and just it was basically like a week as a pro. Do you know what I mean? Which is which is again just a huge privilege. We played at Medesi Stadium. Did our training there, our pre-match preparation. That was earlier in the week. I think that would have been on the Tuesday. Then we went to Selhurst the day before the game. So I believe that would have been on. I think we played on a Sunday.
Yeah, so the Saturday.
Yeah. Did we play on a Saturday? I can't remember where we played on a Saturday. Sunday,
I didn't play in it, unfortunately. I can't help you out.
I can't remember what day we played on, but we played on the weekend. So it was either a Friday we trained at Selhurst or the Saturday ahead of the game on Sunday. And to play on immaculate pitches leading up to the game was lovely as well. Be in the changing rooms. A few pros. Who was it? Right, he was meant to come down, but yeah, some ex-Palace players. Yeah. Had a chat, and it was nice to just have that whole experience. And we had a great team spirit with that side as well. So fantastic season for sure. And
we were chatting before, and you were saying that the other team came out. I forget their name. Stockton. That's
Town,
it.
Yeah.
They came out quite lively at the start.
Yeah.
And you thought, wow, we're in for a game here.
Yeah, for sure. I think they had 3 in midfield, and we kind of had the 2. We prepared all week for it and were hoping we'd overwhelm them with our strengths, but they passed the ball really well for the first 10. And I'm thinking, we made a few entries into our box early on, and me as a wide player on that day, basically on the edge of my box within 10-15 minutes, and doing the doggies up and back. I thought,
the size of that pitch,
this could be a long one. But then it changed, and we grew and grew. Yeah. And I thought 1-0 was kind of flattering to them, to be honest. I think we could have probably won by more and put on a show.
Just for the the coaches that'll be listening to this, what was the sort of thought process and the strategy behind that win? Then what sort of went into it, leading up to it? What sort of things did you work on? I
think our main thing was trying to be as defensively solid as possible. We that season for sure, we had about literally 6 moment match winners. Like, we had a striker that had scored, I think BT Sport even tweeted, like, Shane Cooper-Clark, like 64 goals, Messi 61, and like Ronaldo. Wow. Yeah, they tweeted that, which is a great moment for him. But he'd scored more goals than some of the top players on the planet, really. So he could score at any moment. Myself, I'd scored quite a few goals that season. Jordan Brown on the other side, massive goal threat. Yeah. And we had loads of players on the bench who also had a goal threat as well. Yeah. So we knew if we keep this tight, nice and compact, and take them into the later parts of the game, because it's impossible to know how good they're going to be, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because people do drop down to win the Vase. So sometimes you get players from 2 or 3 levels above that would drop down and go and play for a team that's odds on to win the Vase, pick up a bit of money whilst doing it, and then if they make the final, the Northern teams are really strong in it. So we just wanted to keep it tight. We wanted to defend well, and make sure if we were going to concede, we'd have a game plan where we're only conceding maybe 1, because we knew we're capable of scoring 2, as opposed to just opening up and going for it. We were quite measured in our approach in that week, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Half time, what was the score?
1-0 up at half time.
And what was the team talk like?
It was a really calm one to say. It was just like a normal team talk, which is, I love that, when it's like Wembley had just been stripped away after 45 minutes because you're running around and you just don't care about the flashing lights anymore. It's a game of football now. So it was very much, we felt, and the management felt as well, we think that's all they've got. So let's go and dominate them now. But obviously understand that if they've got 10, 15 minutes left, 20 minutes left at Wembley, they will throw 10 kitchen sinks and do everything, life and limb, to obviously take it to extra time. So be mindful of that. Go and dominate for the first 20, 25 if you can. And as later and later it gets, will obviously help you with the substitutions. But be ready for a war in that last 10, 15. And they did their best, and our centre-backs were unbelievable. Like, I'm in the game, and I felt like a fan watching my own centre-backs. You know what I mean? Goosebumps. Goosebumps thinking about it now. Like Tom Moran and Babs, man mountains. So to see your friends and obviously your teammates do that at Wembley, crazy emotions, to be honest with you. Really? Unbelievable.
So let's move on a little bit then to your coaching career, because you're still combining playing at a decent level and coaching. How did that come about? When did you first start getting the taste for coaching?
I mean, I did little bits in sixth form, coaching like younger age groups at school and little bits like that. and I've always played like sort of coaching games, manager games with my older brother. Always liked the functions of the game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Liked players and I'd really just enjoy watching players. So I knew at a young age if I could help players, that would always be something that I'd be interested in. And to be fair, outside of football, I just kind of have a liking for helping people. Really, that's it. So that was started, and did a psychology degree. And part of the summer periods, obviously, as a university student, not much on. So a friend of mine was like, "I've seen some opportunities to go and coach in America." So an opportunity to travel, coach football. That's an absolute no-brainer for me then. So I started coaching for an organisation called Challenger Sports. They do summer camps in the States. So I did that when I was 19, 20 and 21.
Whereabouts did you travel in the States?
Got so lucky. I got California in my first year. I went to Florida in my second year. And then the third year I did California again, but Southern California and North. And then went to Oregon as well. Saw loads of Nevada. So yeah, really, really fortunate with that time in my life. Because it grows you up massively, travelling on your own, different country, same language but different country, different culture, staying with host families, working with different kids every week. So it's almost like gauntlet coaching, fast-paced, deliver a really high energy, enjoyable camp, and then no time to reflect on it. Next week, bang, do it again. Next week, bang, do it again, and over again. So it probably accelerated my development as a coach, I would say, now looking back, and I'm really grateful for that experience.
What would you say some of the fundamental differences are between like the way you coached and going over there, seeing some of the American coaches work?
I've adopted some of their style as I've done higher and higher, more elite players. They're massive on their physiology, huge on it. They do a lot of high intensity running in America, the elite environments for sure. But I would say we use a lot of jargon. The way we communicate actually is probably a massive one. Quite different here and there, and the level. So they're quite. They're really good with their individual coaching. They love one-to-ones, Dutch method type stuff.
Yeah.
Massive on the ball mastery, which at the time in the UK was also big.
Yes.
And obviously still is. But they'll go to the minute details because that's what they're really interested in. Whereas here, I feel that we kind of let the practice do the work, and we won't go as astute as soul outside, then Cruyff turn. Yeah. Like we won't go to that level of detail. Not because we can't, as it were, as British coaches, but because we kind of focus on, now at least, the game being the teacher. So as long as they're getting the turn in practice in and they're completing the objective, that's fine. How they do it, you can help and guide, but you don't need to be so dogmatic about, it has to be literally Cruyff turn, outside of the foot, inside of the foot, then repeat, then repeat, then repeat. So that was probably the main difference.
That's what I found also. Lucky enough to work in Philadelphia for a few years, and lots of sort of constant practices, lots of drill-based practices.
Loads. They love them.
Sort of robotic stuff, and like you say, the influence of Dutch football, curve, Brazilian soccer, that kind of stuff. So practices that look great and whizzy, but then very little time spent on game-based stuff and random practices.
Yeah, that's it. You're spot on. I'd played some pick-up games as they were, and decision-making is something that's not really worked on. And for me, I would say that's the difference. Obviously, football's a very multifaceted game with loads and different features and loads of requirements on players. But ultimately, your ability to make a decision and solve a solution or solve a problem with the right solution at high speed, under pressure, consistently, that's what makes the difference. I mean, if I could do that better as a semi-professional player, then I probably wouldn't be a semi-professional player. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And even professional players, maybe if you're in the Championship, if you could do it even better, maybe you'd be a Premier League player. Premier League players, if you could do that bit but even better, maybe you'd be a Champions League player. Because just to cut away, for example, I remember seeing something that just left me in awe once when I was watching a Man City game. Someone had basically got to the byline and Silva was asking for the ball on the edge of the box, and you could see he was wanted a set for a shot, and the pass back just got overcooked. And as he was peeling back for the shot, it seemed to me like he changed his mind mid-flow and took a first touch, passed the defender, then passed. And I thought, has he just done that? Do you know how many times I've gone, set me? And when it sets me, by the time I get it, a new decision is needed. Yeah. But I've skied it, or it's been blocked. Yeah. He was able to literally go, have the mental agility to go, oh no, different solution now at that speed. Yeah. And I was just in awe. And I believe those drill practices and the constants, I think Cruyff even said it, they don't prepare players for it because there's it's unopposed largely. And on top of that, it doesn't allow for the perceptual development in relation to the technical skill. But, I mean, everything has a place. It's just to what ratios you're using things, I think,
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you made, and that's what we talk about on the courses also. Look, there is a time and a place for constant practice.
Yeah, for sure. I think they need to be used more, to be honest with you. Yeah. But I would say in America, maybe they're used a bit too much. Yeah. So there is a balance somewhere, depending on what the coach wants or what the players require, I guess.
Yeah. So that being said, then you make some really interesting points there. What sort of modern day coaches do you admire? And also, like yourself growing up, you mentioned I think there was a university coach that
massive.
That you really admired. Yeah.
Massive.
And what are your reasons?
For me, I've had a few very good coaches, but for different reasons. Obviously, you're aware of Simon Chandler. Obviously, we know him as Kruger in Reading. He was massive on the identity aspect for me as a player. Yeah. And almost transformed my game by tapping into me as a person and giving me some really challenging times, actually. Like, you'd hear me on obviously on air and then think it was quite easy-going guidance experience. No, but it was an incredibly challenging guiding experience, and I'm so grateful for it because development, as we know, is not always good-looking. It's got ugly challenges. It's got some ugly moments sometimes as well. But when you get to the other side, the identity that I developed game identity that I developed as a result of his guidance was massive. So he's a huge one. Then I was fortunate, literally the season after, to have the gentleman that we were talking about off air, Steve Manning. He'd done some Brazilian coaching badges as well. He's obviously well qualified in the UK too, English coach. And he basically just taught me the mechanics of the game, like in and out, both in and out of possession. Massively changed my understanding of what you're actually doing when you're defending. Because it's crazy to say it, but I'm even not the best defender now. But he gave me such a significant improvement because I understood at 21, which is obviously too late, what blocking a passing line, like when and how to actually do that. What being a cover player to another player who's pressing, what that distance actually feels like. And what that did for my attacking game was absolutely unbelievable because then I could then get into spaces and go, their shapes all over the place, so I can really exploit here and know how to do it. The movement and rotation went through the roof for our team. So he basically, I've always had some physical capabilities from childhood. I've got some perceptual capabilities from childhood that allowed me, and then I've got a personality. I'm quite a risk taker player. I will flick it over someone's head to put someone else in. I will shoot from distance. I'm not even the best shooter, but I will shoot from distance and can score from distance. So I play with quite a lot of daring when I'm feeling confident. Yeah. So all of that just got a huge catalyst and a huge improvement because I could then see the game tactically from his guidance. Then, went on.
How would he sort of break it down then, like in and out of possession? What were the sort of key messages that he was sort of trying to get across to you? What sort of things stand in your mind?
He was all around in terms of, he was really quite clear with his technical information on a personal when you've got the ball. But when we're talking about the global aspect of it in terms of now we're defending, he used to speak about almost like a chess game. One move for you, one move for them, or one move for us, one move for them. So as that ball, for example, is going from the 4 to the 2 out the other side. So it's come from the 3. 3 can't progress. He goes into the 4, goes out the other side. Now, they've gone to the 4. We have to react. So what does our shuffling look like? Now, if we do it out of sync, the 4 now has an opportunity to play a pass maybe through our midfield line. So we need to shuffle in such a way that it is in sync. Whilst we're doing that, our 4 against their 10 potentially needs to make sure he's tight so that pass doesn't get played. So now, when another coach might say, make it predictable, but what does that mean when you don't know what it means? Does that what I'm saying? So he would be specific about Now, because we know there's no forward passing options, as the ball's travelling from their 3 to their 4 across the midfield line, we know he's probably going to have to pass to the 2, because that's the pass we've left him. As the ball's now travelling to the 2, 11, I want you to get out and make it super uncomfortable for him. So then that's really clear for me. I probably could have understood that at 12 with the right language. But unfortunately, the understanding from people that have been in all of our football lives, it wouldn't get delivered that way. You wouldn't necessarily have the environment nor the relationships to be open about not understanding that. Or you wouldn't even know that you didn't probably understand it. And then you'd go and give it a go and not really get much feedback. Turns out it wasn't good enough, and then you might not be seen as a proficient player, might not be given opportunities at the next level or played, and there's not really an open communication line as to why that was the case. With Steve, it was pretty clear. This is what he wants us to do. We then got loads of repetition and practice at it. If we were good at it, we'd take it into the match day. If we weren't good at it, we'd look at why and then make amendments and then take that into the match day. It's a pretty straightforward thing, and it's been massive for me as a coach, because I've replicated and tweaked and added and chopped and changed with other people that have then come on my journey after that, like Lois Fiddler, huge influence for me working at Saints in the women's game. So I'm basically now, as a coach, and I put this in the presentation, I think the presentation I showed you, I'm basically now just an amalgamation of all the mentors and influences I've had in football recently, yourself included. I knew as a child, information can transform your experience. I was playing, and I still remember sessions at Meadway where you'd say receive on the back foot, and it was almost like it was like a revelation, because up until that point I was probably playing with half the pitch. So when you gave us the tool of Ekow receive on the back foot, oh wow, now I can go that way and that way, and now my dribbling capability is twice as effective. So having that experience is massive.
Interesting, and you mentioned jargon there, and that's something that when I go out and watch games, and you can hear it from the side, and the classic sort of shouts of get into shape or just shape. What does that mean?
Unless it's a personally agreed upon thing that you've done that week already. So it's almost like a code word.
I'm assuming not.
Exactly.
But,
exactly.
It's an observation from me. It's something I hear, but it's only now, since being with the Football Association and going through the courses, that I'm thinking, we need to drill down. And what are the specifics of that? What do you mean?
Lois used to be massive on it. She used to say, what do we mean by what we say? And I'm sat in meetings with her, or we're getting some CPD, and I'm there going, this is life-changing. Because we say things and we know what we mean. We assume they think we know.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And then they're not doing what you want. And then the coach gets angry at the learner.
Brilliant.
And it's like, hang on, he doesn't know. And I've got to contend with that all the time. Obviously, I still play, and I see my teammates get dug out is the nice version, I guess, at a non-league level. And I think I feel sorry for him sometimes, because I think he is trying. He literally just doesn't understand what you're talking about.
And I've said it on this podcast many a time, but that was me. That was me at 15. Being taught a way that didn't suit me. I didn't have a clue what was going on.
And because a massive one.
And because of social pressures, my age at the time, didn't want to question my coach. Then it would inhibit my learning, because I wouldn't ask the questions. I wouldn't be selfish with my learning. So I'd only go so far, or I'd have to guess. It would be a lot of guesswork.
That's what you do. You guess, and you hope you learn on the fly. Like it took me a year. I remember at university, it took me a year to stand in, and I'll be specific, then I'll use the jargon after. It took me a year to stand in between the 3 and the 3 and the 5 and the 2 and the 6, or whichever way around you want it. It took me a year in a 4-4-2, when the ball's gone dead, goal kick or whatever it is. It took me a year to learn that if I stand in between that gap and my striker partner stands in between the other gap between the centre-back and full-backs, it encourages their goalkeeper to kick long, because he's got no centre-backs to play to. That's called split 'em. Split 'em early, early. It took me a year.
Brilliant.
Because of my lack of concentration and my emotional disposition of, I'm reflecting on the cross that should have come in, that's not come in, the keeper's claimed, and I'm fuming. So my emotional shortcomings as a person, which I'm only now reflecting on in my mid to late 20s, thank you. And and then the jargon. So you take a highly emotional, passionate learner, mix that with jargon he doesn't understand, and then you get he's not listening. Yeah. So the coaches aren't wrong, and it's not the coach's fault. It's just basically miscommunication and misunderstanding, because we could all be better, if that makes sense. I mean,
So what sort of things will you do in your sessions then? Because I've been along and supported you through like your different levels.
mm-hmm.
What sort of things will you do in your sessions at Reading Football Club to assist the different learners in your age group?
To be honest with you, I think I could be more varied in my catering to different types of learners. I'm probably very good for the kinesthetic ones, because I like to use human tactics boards. I like them to feel what it's like to be where they're supposed to be. So I use a lot of human tactics boards, as in I'm actually quite anti-board, because I'm biased towards my own experience, and sitting down for long periods of time and looking at something for me was always going to result in me cracking a joke to my mate or thinking about what I'm having for dinner later. So I'm very probably quite biased to those types of people that want to just get up and move. So I usually try and get them engaged quite quickly with ball mastery practices, things that are quite fun, don't take a lot of cognitive or perceptual, more cognitive ability, really. It's just catch someone with a ball at your foot, Tom and Jerry, bang, let's make it happen. With the younger ones, I'll openly call it Tom and Jerry, chasing somebody. With the older ones, I'll just say number 1 and number 2, and effectively we'll play the same game. And what's strange about that is, whether you're dealing with elite level under 18s or 23s, or you're dealing with 6-year-old grassroots players, people seem to like chasing people with a football. it's funny. We all regress back to childhood. And when you get for me anyway, I believe when you get the child out of either the child itself or an adult, the engagement you get early doors is massive. And then you can, for me, this is the way around I prefer, and have found has worked in my experience, as limited as it has been. Once you then have the engagement and some fatigue, I think it's much easier to then move to something that takes just the visual and auditory, because kids listen to me when they're tired, because they're blowing.
Yeah.
But when I try and talk to them and they've got bundles of energy still left in that body, I've got to say, right, do you know, be quiet, and all that. And I can't use all of the behaviour management if there's a way to avoid it, really. So that's kind of how I work.
And you do something surrounding their strengths as well?
Yeah, super strengths is a massive one.
How does that work?
Basically, I think identity is probably, as I mentioned Simon Chandler earlier, identity is something that I think is super important when you're working with people and trying to help them develop. So encouraging them to understand themselves as people and as players has been a massive one. And super strengths, I think, is one that I focus on in the initial phases. So one question I ask quite openly with all the learners once they're of a certain age is, what do you bring to a football pitch? And I'll ask that as the end question, and the leading questions up to that will be, I'll ask child A, what's Hazard's best attribute? Or name 3 things Hazard's good at. I'll ask someone else, name 3 things David Luiz or someone else is good at. And everyone seems to come up with the same answers. Then I say to the kids, do you notice how you lot all know what he's good at? Do you reckon he knows what he's good at? They'll be like, he has to, because how can we know and him not? So I say, that's right, because he's got a game identity, and he expresses that, and he uses his super strengths. What are yours? What do you bring to a football pitch? And since working in that way, I've had huge engagement, and kids feel empowered. They then go to use their super strengths in practices that are specifically designed for them to do so.
You allocate time for them to go and do that? Is that like an arrival activity?
We do it as like our debriefs. So that's one of the things with fatigue. I wouldn't do that before we've had a run around.
Yeah.
So we'll have the run around, and in our moment of fatigue, on a water break or whatever else it might be, we'll have that conversation, or we'll have it as our starting convo if we've already opened that conversation the week before. Go and watch a player. Why is he your favourite player? What are their strengths? What are your strengths? When we go through that thing, and then I'll then have individual chats as you're walking to water breaks, or when a kid's turned up early, or when a kid's late, to try and help them understand themselves within a couple of weeks. Within a couple of weeks, I want a player to know, oh yeah, I am really good at tackling. People can't get past me, actually. No, I am really fast. And then I'll go, right, in this practice, can you express that? And then in the game, and then in the next practice, and in the next game. And then before you know it, you've got usually, if they're not confident across the board, at least they're confident in an attribute. And with that confidence in that attribute, can we then use that to develop other skills and take them on their development journey? So that's unknowingly how I've been working for some time, but I've now started working into putting it into an actual program. Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's move on to modern day coaches and managers then.
Yep.
So who springs to mind for you? Someone who you admire and why really?
I think I'm quite out of touch regarding methods. I know there's loads of videos now on inside knowledge and what people do, but if I was going off manner and like how tactile and approachable and enthusiastic and positive people, for example, can be, Klopp comes to my mind straight away. Like, none of us have been Klopp's player, as far as I'm aware. You've not played for him, have you? Because I haven't.
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. But we can kind of all feel what it'd be like to play for him, and I think that's incredibly powerful.
Really good point.
And if you look at his Liverpool side, look at those players. That's not a Champions League winning side. Look at that Henderson. Look at that midfield. Like, he's a good player, but if you look at the weak points of that side, I'm saying they've massively overachieved to win the Champions League, but it's not surprising that they have because of how much they buy into the strategy that they play with, and the amount of effort they put into the strategy that they play with, the amount of belief they have in it, and that is no coincidence. It's come from the top. So he really springs to mind. I love like Guardiola's innovation. It doesn't always work, but he's brave.
Yeah.
And I love people looking outside of the sport to see how the sport actually functions. I think a lot of us, naturally, it's just how culture and information works. We think we're taking a shortcut by doing what's been done, when sometimes we're actually moving backwards by doing it. And if you rip it up and say, what's actually happening here? Like, do that amount of players need to be in that position? Well, of course they do. It's 4-4-2. Well, that's not the only way we can do it. Or of course they do. It's 4-3-3. The innovators that go, no, the fullbacks might be able to come in field. He doesn't do it anymore, but he did it. And to have the bravery to not rip up what's been done just because you fancy it, but to challenge assumptions and see if they're valid, I think that at the top level, because I can talk it in the living room with my mates, but could I do it in a Champions League game? Yeah. I don't think I'm being honest with you. I deal with the media after. No, not a chance. I know I wouldn't be doing that. So for him to do that at the highest level and take, I mean, did he take, when he was Bayern manager, I think he took a lot of goals against Barca. I think Barca absolutely caned him, maybe 8-0 over 2 legs or something. Because he was doing I think he left 3 at the back against Messi, Suarez and Neymar. Yeah. It sounds mad now. Yeah. It's mad in hindsight. But to have the bravery to even do that type of thing, I really admire. And then I always admire the coaches that punch above their weight. Like, look at Simeone. Yeah. Like, again, I look at some of the personnel and I say, how are you, in the golden era that they've just come out of, how are you getting to Champions League finals consistently? How are you winning the league? Getting close to winning the league year in, year out, when your budget's nowhere near those other 2 superpowers, and some of the players that you're doing it with in a 4-4-2. The amount of endeavour that it takes to play that formation at their level in that way and run game in, game out, those distances, it's because there's a spiritual leader who's called a manager at the top, at the helm of that, I see. And the motivation capacity those people have is unbelievable. Yeah.
So, hypothetically, let's say you're a manager in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Money's no option. How are you setting your teams up in possession and out of possession?
I would try and have the most fluid system. I'd probably go for like a 4-3-3 basis, but I would implore and really encourage the players to use the space that's available, irrespective of the situation. Use the space that's available. I hate, for example, and it's funny, I'm in the middle of a row with my mate at the moment because he sits in the 4, probably like you used to play. He sits in the 4, and that does me in because it's just easy to mark. I like, my favourite boxers are the fluid ones that they've got great improvisation. My favourite player is Ronaldinho. Yeah. I love salsa. Like, let's have some fun with this thing. So let's move where the space is available. So I'd probably play a really fluid 4-3-3, where the 4, 8 and 10 license, use the space that's available. Any of you can go and collect, any of you can move the ball through the thirds. The front three, same difference. To hopefully try and bamboozle the opposition to the point where they go, we can't man mark. We can't man mark because they're all going everywhere. So that would be my fundamental basis. Now, the players I'd need to have with that need to be highly mobile and highly technical and tactical, so that we could implement that and be the possession side. And I'd anticipate if you had the blank checkbook, completely blank checkbook, and could sign who you want, you could get that personnel. And if you had that personnel for about a season and a half, 2 years, people would then just sit off, and then it'd become the horrible 2 banks, and you've got to play side to side every week. That would eventually happen. But the Champions League games would be fun because people might try and actually have it with you. Yeah. And
then, so based on that formation, defensively, how would you shape up?
I reckon we just drop back into the standard 4-1-4-1.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind that formation would be to dominate possession. But once out of possession, try and arrest it quickly. 7 seconds. Can we quick? Klopp and old Guardiola, Barcelona style. Try and arrest it quickly and get it back. If we can't then do that, we'll get into a nice 4-1-4-1. And nice and compact as you'd expect. Yeah. Nothing really too imaginative with that. Yeah.
So let's flip it now. And imagine that I'm managing, or you're managing, a grassroots team.
Yep.
So like your old team, Meadway Youth.
Oh wow, we were unbelievable.
Yeah,
so that's pretty much my all-star team there.
But you're the manager now.
Yep.
When you went 11 aside, what would be some sort of key messages if you were the manager of that team?
Ooh, that's a really hard one, because when we went 11, are we going 11 aside at 13s, 14s like they do now, or 11 when we did it?
Do it like you did it, yeah.
Oh, when we did it, I feel it's so difficult because, like, take myself for example. I'm only 6 stone now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a skinny little kid, late maturer. So I would have struggled to use me.
Yeah.
And that was obviously a difficult time for me as a player anyway, because I was like very effective up until that age, and then once we started getting to that age, I started to struggle. So for me, I'd probably play a 4-4-1-1 because it's close enough to 4-4-2 to not confuse anybody. Obviously, our tactical understanding at that time and at that age is limited. So 4-4-2 is what we know, it's what we're used to. So I wouldn't want to stray too far from that to alienate the players. So probably would go 4-4-1-1.
Yeah.
So basically, Fergie style, it's 4-4-2, but Cantona drops off and does what he needs to do. So I'd probably do that and use the early maturers and the really athletic players that we had, probably more so than players like myself. And then in time, as that 4-4-1-1 and that 10 player, basically, we get more and more used to that. I would then, if the pitches allow, try and dominate possession and use the connective players, the later maturers, who have got good tactical awareness, good technical capability, to then start playing more of the style of football that we see now, which obviously wasn't really played then.
What would be some of the key messages?
Key messages. At that age, I would say, circulate the ball, so move the ball around the pitch to create situations for people to be able to use their super strengths. So we had very good dribblers. Circulate the ball side to side, create 1v1 and 2v1 situations wide would be one of the key messages in attack. I believe that's one of the easiest goals to score in football, other than the ball over the top and someone runs and scores. Playing side to side and creating 1v1 situations for a winger to beat someone and put it across the face, or 2v1 situations with an overlapping fullback, is something that's quite easy to coach and easy to understand as a player. And everyone's involved. Midfielders know we're kind of moving the ball side to side. Wingers know we're staying wide as we receive it, do our magic. Strikers know, get on the end of things, basically. So that would probably be the key message in attack. In defence, again, I'm really a big fan of, if we can arrest the ball as soon as we've lost it within 7 seconds, let's do it. If we can't, let's get into a shape and get connected. And that would be the same message that I have now. Get connected and make it very difficult for people to break your line. And I make a point of making it almost like a competition. Right side, how many balls did they get in from your side? Left side, how many? Obviously, it's a team game, but a little inter-squad, intra-squad objective of, we only conceded one cross in the last 3 games. How many of you lot conceded on the lefty? That sort of thing.
No, I like it. And why I ask that is I'm just conscious of, there's going to be a lot of grassroots coaches and managers listening to this.
Right.
And I want to try and make it real for them also.
Yeah.
Because, so many times, they'll be watching Match of the Day and thinking, how do I relate that? How do I articulate what's happening there?
Yep.
Or provide my players, provide my players with a watered down version of that, what I'm seeing. So there's some really interesting points that you've made.
And to be fair, off the fact that you've just said that, I'd try and make it really simple in a sense that one practice that I like to use is 2 areas. The players use one area and they'll have maybe, let's say, 4 players in one area, 4 players in their other area. They'll be playing against 4. So they've got an 8v4 and all the stipulation is move the ball from high pressure to low pressure. Simple as that. So once you embed that principle, I kind of only really focus on basic fundamental principles because I feel like there's only several, and that's the whole game in just those several principles.
Correct.
Moving the ball from high to low pressure is just a fundamental game principle. It's trying to protect the football collectively. So that's one that I'd really embed. And because of the nature of the game, i.e. they're going to usually use more numbers to protect their goal than they are to try and get it back high at your goal. Because if you get it past them, you've got 1v1s and 2v1s and 3v1s against them. So if we can play an 8v6, so I'd start 8v4, then I tease it week to week, high pressure to low pressure. If you can keep the ball in an 8v6 at speed in a I'd say maybe a 55 by 40 at any age, you can implement the tactic I just spoke about on a match day because you're going to have your back 4 and your goalkeeper, your midfield 4 versus probably 6 of their players. So that's your 9v6 there. So I would make it very clear to them. If you can do an 8v6 here with no goalkeeper, as you've shown you can do it here, let's go do it out there on that massive pitch. And because we're playing side to side as opposed to forwards, we're not trying to play through them. We're literally trying to move the ball to one flank. Can we create a 1v1 or 2v1? Then we'll move it to the other flank. That's a fundamental basis. I still use that now. Not because I don't like forward passes into the thing. It's easier. It gives them confidence. It gives them context. And allows players in 1v1 situations to score what I would say or create chances in a very basic way. Then I'd build on that to then start playing more central chance creation. So I think that is implementable at grassroots level for sure.
Talk about your time in Spain.
Oh man, that was incredibly. I would recommend playing abroad, coaching abroad, being around football abroad to anybody, because it shows you the world you thought was the world is just a mini world, and it's one perspective and it's one culture. Obviously, there's loads of other mini perspectives within that culture, but it's largely one culture. People still fall off their chair because I'm seen as this creative, tricky 10-winger player that can score and will give you nothing the other way. Rightly or wrongly, whether I'm seeing like that or not. And in Spain, I was employed as a ball-winning midfielder.
Wow.
Because they assessed my speed capability and said, right, there's loads of highly technical midfielders that aren't the most mobile, that get on it and paint pictures for the other team. And so they saw me as, you're good on the ball. They didn't think I was exceptional. You're good on the ball. Whereas over here, they're like, X has got a bit, he's technical, whatever. So over there, like, you're good on the ball. You can make chances, you can score goals. So what we really want you to do is hurry them up and disturb them. So I felt really empowered, like addressing a part of my game which has always been communicated to me as poor. They saw it as really positive because we're playing on immaculate 4G pitches that are watered. The ball's zipping at high speed, so I can do all my lovely stuff when we've got it. Pass, move, get it back, drive through the pitch, create chances high. And then when they get it, I'm quick enough to, and because they play tactically and try and keep the ball in those zones, and they don't press till the second, third.
Okay.
But loads of teams we played against, back 4, they're like, we don't want to get bopped. So they literally, the striker would sit on just in front of their 4. We as the midfield 3 would pick up their midfield 3. and then everyone else would take the shape around that. And if they went into the back third, we would, invariably...
Most teams played that way?
Some went long, and were really direct, which was fine, no problem, because we've got the facilities, obviously, pitch-wise, so when we get it back, we can keep it. So going long is probably less... It's less advantageous over there because you're playing long to a team that want the ball, whereas in my non-league environment here in the UK, you play long to a team that also doesn't really want to be playing in the back third on those horrible, cow pitches. So we'll then go long as well. So then you have it back and then it turns into that type of game. Do you know what I mean? We're over there. Go on then. Go long, we'll pick up the second ball and you won't see the ball for 12 minutes. Yeah. No problem. So yeah, it was good.
And how did the coaching differ there?
I was really pleased to see that the abuse and the passion is not that much different, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Depends on the person.
Yeah.
I had one coach over there, really measured, really measured, and massive on ball maintenance. Like he was actually. I changed my game for him a little bit because when I see a killer pass, play it. Let's play it. Yeah. Let's break lines. Let's make it happen. And he'd see it as a wasted possession if it wasn't clearly on. Right. Whereas another manager I played under more, he was more, killer pass, don't worry, we'll win it back, we'll go and press, we'll get in their faces. And he was the really explosive one when we were playing poorly, whereas the other one, kind of matches up really. The one who was more methodical in his tactical approach was very methodical in his information at half time and before the game as well. So, yeah, really, really valuable experiences, for sure.
Interesting. Where do you see yourself going?
Oof. I'm spreading myself across so many things at the moment. Yeah. It could be a number of places, but with our own organisation, doing stuff in Ghana, community programs, supporting players out in Ghana as well, young pros and stuff like that. That's really kind of taken my heart.
That's in its infancy.
Yeah, for sure. It's because of how much we want to scale it. I think I'll see it in its infancy until it's a household brand, probably. Yeah. At least in the football world. Yeah. And
that's something you do with your brother Kabina, we should say, is coaching at Reading as well.
Yep. So my brother's very much involved. Obviously, he's full-time. He's a full-time academy coach at Reading. So he supports and consultancy, and obviously he's massive for the coaching programs that we want to do in international schools and various different services that we're doing in Ghana and now kind of in the UK as well. And my university friend, a Cameroonian gentleman as well, he's currently a recruitment consultant in education, but he also is heavily involved with that. I see most of my energy and mental space really going into that because of the autonomy you get from having your own organisation, of course, but also the impact that we can make both in the UK and in Ghana and hopefully in Europe as well, working with clubs. So that's where I see us going, being a player developer for the most talented players in Ghana, the UK and potentially Europe, basically. Yeah.
And your own playing career, how old are you now?
29.
I thought you were older.
Yeah, that's the hairline. That's why. If you would have said, let's do this on TV, I'd have said, not a chance. Not with this hairline, but podcast works for me because I can pretend I've got like long wavy hair like Drogba or something.
You're doing well. What's happening playing-wise then?
Playing-wise, it's actually going all right. Obviously, like I said, I'm still only 6 stone, so I'm hoping because I've got the skinny frame, I can play for as long as I find it fun. And it's going all right at the moment. I feel, I know boxers say it all the time, like this is the fittest I've ever felt. But it's actually the fittest I've ever felt. As I said, since Wembley, which is obviously over a year now, I run religiously on my personal work, in the gym, and obviously eat okay, always have done. So I just want to keep playing non-league football and really enjoy it. I think I missed a trick throughout my formative years, and definitely in my early 20s, not enjoying it enough because the perfectionist stuff, it should be better, that was rubbish, I didn't play well. My brother used to laugh at me and my girlfriend used to laugh at me as well. I am the type to pretty much have a worldie, score 2 nutmegs, flicks and tricks, all lovely, put in 2 bad crosses before the end, and that's it. My head's gone. Yeah. I'm just in the car thinking, didn't like those last 2 actions. So over years, and I mean years, it takes a lot of work because you've been like that since a child, to really start to reorganise my thoughts and my self-perception to allow myself to enjoy the game more, because I'm not going to be able to play it forever. And I want to enjoy it. I do want to enjoy it, yeah, for sure.
And what about the combination of playing at that level and coaching?
It's really helped me coaching. I think coaching's actually been part of the reason. It happened when I was working for Hampshire FA and Saints in the women's programme, or the girls teams, when coaching gave me the release. It gave me the cognitive challenge. It gave me the intellectual stimulation that I needed in football, so I could go to non-league environments. No disrespect, you know what I mean, go to non-league environments and not need that, and not feel frustrated and angry and all of that sort of stuff. And I've grown as a person as well, like spiritually, my relationships. So football just wasn't like, in my early to mid-20s, it was becoming horrible, because I was absorbing how horrible the environment can be, how cutthroat, aggressive, and intense it can be. And then over years, one, I've become more resilient and water off a duck's back about it. And two, I just don't take it home. And coaching's helped me with that, because I understand that is a context. That's not football. That's just what football's like there. And it allows you to play, enjoy it at times when it's good, deal with it when it's bad, make money out of football. And that's one quote I always use when I've seen younger players now come in and do exactly what I was doing when I was 21 and 22 and 23. My mate, that's the number 4 that sits in the hole. He's doing it recently, where really upset, and I say, Harry, if you go to Live Score on a Saturday afternoon and you scroll through how many football matches are going on all over the world, and then you add up all the grassroots games, and you add up all that, you say, there's millions of people in the planet right now. They're going to play a game today, and you're probably in the 1% that are going to get paid for it. So let's try and enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Whether we like it or not, it's not life-changing money, but it's decent. It keeps you ticking over. Do you know what I mean? It allows you to do things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do. So it is a privilege, and I think if we realise that more, I think we as non-league players would be happier. And coaching's definitely allowed me to have that perspective, because before I was angry, really, because I wanted the environments to be better. I wanted them to be more tactical. I wanted the information to be better. I wanted all of that. So yeah, it's been really helpful.
Okay, and the last thing for me really is, what sort of advice would you give to grassroots coaches in our region? We had a brief conversation earlier about our experience of coaches growing up. What would you say to them in the position that you're in now, if you could, in hindsight?
Grassroots coaches, I would say, probably to all coaches, but definitely to grassroots coaches. And I think grassroots coaches get this more than elite ones, that fundamentally it's about the learner. We love our coaching plans. We love our plan for the year and our team development and beating the team that's meant to be the best side in the league. We all enjoy that, potentially. But ultimately, it's about the learner. So I'd say that the advice I would give, I definitely don't feel I'm experienced enough nor capable enough to really be giving advice. But as you've asked,
you're more than capable.
It's always about the learner, and to keep learning yourself. Those are the two things I'd say. It's always about them, and what can you keep on learning. If we can all, as coaches and probably people as well, if we can all remember that it's not about us, and can you keep learning, I think we'll all get close to our potential as facilitators for young people, for sure. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ekow. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Ekow. Thank you, Rivo. Keep up the good work, Ekow. Some brilliant stuff, and they're very valuable content for the grassroots coaches around the county. And unfortunately, got some bad news, because that is the end of Series 1 of the podcast. So thank you so much to those who have listened and enjoyed the pod. And thank you for those who have shared the comments and given us a rating. But please do not worry, we will be back. In 1 month's time, we'll be back for Series 2 with another 6 episodes for you. So please subscribe. Please give us a comment if you haven't done so. Any feedback is welcome. And enjoy the next month, and we'll see you real soon. Take care. Thank you.